Thank you for joining us on a special show of The Media Connection. We are taping here at an historic event, the Soulful Chicago Book Fair. And this has been a fantastic opportunity to meet some wonderful authors. We featured many of them on our Female Solution radio show all week long, and we really need to hear from those who have put their wisdom on paper. So this fair, the first of what we are expecting is going to be an annual event, features authors from all across the country who have come with their books in all kinds of categories, from fiction to nonfiction to children's books, self-help books, history books. And today we're going to talk to two men who have dealt with a very serious issue, and that's books on relationships. We know that the relationship between men and women, husbands and wives, lovers, friends, those who create families, that is the foundation of everything in our society. And if we can get that right, we can fix every social problem we have. So today, we're going to hear a male perspective that many of you sisters need to understand, because we make a lot of mistakes simply because we don't understand who we are and what we could do really to solve the problem. Now, I'm not bashing women, but this is definitely not a show to bash men, because we are partners in this situation. And so women, sometimes we need to just be quiet and listen. So today I have some wonderful gentlemen who have put their wisdom in a book. First, we have Eddie Rogers, author of the book Relationship Starts with Relate.
Thank you.
And then we have Dr. Obari Cartman, and he's author of the book Ladies' Man. So we're going to have an opportunity to hear some things that, my sisters, it might be a little hard to hear, but I want you to listen and absorb what they're saying, because if we can understand what we do that affects this situation, we can understand what we need to do to fix it. So I want to thank both of you all for joining us today on this special taping of The Media Connection.
Thank you.
Now, I got a question I'm going to ask both of you, because this is something that we talk about all the time on our radio show, The Female Solution. Do you think that men are turning away from the institution of marriage more so than perhaps 20 years ago, a generation ago? And if so, why? Let's start with you.
Yes, they are. I actually wrote a quick essay on that when I got engaged, because I noticed how much emphasis and attention went to my fiance at the time, and I was like, what about me? And I realized it was a societal issue. Men are turning away from marriage for lots of reasons. It seems to be okay in a lot of circles to just treat women like they're disposable. So once you make the commitment to want to get married, you're going to get picked on, you're going to get talked about, you're going to get looked at as though you're about to miss out on everything else in the world, and all the other women out there. Also, like you said during the introduction, there's a lot of conflict between men and women in general. Thinking about some older generations and the music that was played and the songs that were sung, and just the social habits, the atmosphere was different, and people looked forward to getting married, and it was a proud thing to have a wife. Somebody else besides yourself that said you was all that. And now it's, and pop culture has a lot to do with it. There's a lot of little one-liners and phrases that have diminished the value of a relationship. So yeah, men are turning away from marriage for all kinds of reasons, some of them personal, some of them financial, but a lot of it is just the climate around marriage. And particularly in this country, and that's the name of the essay that I wrote, The Taboo of Husbandry in America. because in other cultures, both bride and groom are celebrated and congratulated, and there's not such a sarcastic wave of criticism and things going towards the male. You know, we're in America, men are looked at like, you sure you want to do that? Whereas in other cultures, it's like, hey, I'm happy for you, I'm proud, and it's a great time, you know? It's a great thing.
So what do you think about that, Dr. Cartman?
I agree with that.
Why is that?
Essentially, I mean, I agree with the brother saying. I think that there has been a value shift in the importance of marriage for men, but I also think that we still carry a lot of the same old-fashioned ideas, which I don't mean old-fashioned in a bad way, but like my father was the breadwinner in the house, and so that idea that a man as a husband is supposed to take care of his family is inhibited by an increasingly more difficult system for men to be employed, to graduate from school. These systematic things that are not preparing men to like run houses for real. We not, you know, we don't teach young people taxes. We don't teach young people how to own businesses, how to be economically savvy enough to do what the role of a husband is. And so I feel like a lot of men don't feel like they're equipped. Like we don't even know how to buy property in the same way that my father did, but didn't necessarily pass down to me in ways. And you know, my peers, we're not doing that kind of stuff no more. That kind of old-fashioned stuff. We still talk about opening doors and pulling our chairs, but we're not talking about owning property in the same way. And so I think that inhibits men's ability to feel what we got to feel in order to do the necessary steps to create the kind of structures that I think family is supposed to be about.
But on a side note, you mentioned employment. I do have a book coming out on Monday called Your Career Hero, and at yourcareerhero.com is where that book can be found. So that is an issue, that is a problem. And going along with that, within the last 15, 20 years or 10, 15 years, we've seen a lot of movies and a lot of songs where women are coming out and basically pushing the man's head down in the dirt. He's already down, and now it's saying, I don't need you, by the way. I'm an independent woman. I've got a job, you know, and then because that's been a popular topic, there's more rappers and more singers and more people pushing that and congratulating them, which they should be congratulated, but at the same time, you have to realize the divide that it causes, where if a man already feels useless for his own reasons, and then the woman that he wants is saying, yeah, you're useless, and I want you to remember that, then that creates a bigger divide than there already was.
You know, when I look at what you said about economics and my father, you know, again, being the breadwinner, you know, at times he worked 2 jobs when necessary. It seems like the economic condition is the very foundation of the family, and when the men were, first of all, taken out of the family with the welfare, and when they were actually discouraged from being at home because the woman could only get money if she didn't have a husband, that seemed to put that whole thing in motion. Mm-hmm. And now we've had maybe 3 generations where manhood has been undefined. If a young boy grows up in a family where he doesn't see a father, he doesn't see a father bring home a paycheck from a job, he doesn't see a father running a business, he doesn't see a father out working and then being able to provide, he doesn't know that's what a man is supposed to do. So with that happening, what do you think is the result of boys now when they think what they're supposed to do as their urges, you know, come up and they get to puberty? What is in their mind that they're supposed to do from that point regarding women? What do they think their role is?
Just to have sex. You know, they're not looking at how to provide a foundation for her, how to help her, or how to even impress her beyond what they, you know, like those urges you're talking about, how to impress her beyond that. That all they see is a target. They don't see somebody as a future partner. You know, you mentioned during the introduction to the audience that you want the women to listen to what they can do, or like you said, sometimes they need to be quiet and listen. I was thinking of when I heard Whitney Houston sing, "If I'm sleeping in Grand Central Station, it's okay if you're sleeping with me." Mm. She took the economics out of it. There used to be songs like that. Now, she also made a song on the other end, but she was, it was a pretty upset song, and I noticed that a lot of upset women songs got popular after that. But we used to hear, not just talking about songs, but in our households and in our friendships, we used to hear, there used to be even TV shows where the family didn't have anything. They were poor, but they had each other.
Yeah,
you know?
good times.
And if you had more money, then great. And if you didn't, it's not that it didn't matter, but it didn't matter more than having each other.
Right.
And so that's one thing that people have to get back in the habit of, is looking at the value of the person.
Yeah.
You know, and I keep mentioning music and songs because people like them because they sound good. And so the more you pay attention to something, the more it becomes a part of your life. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not trying to blame music or anything like that. I'm just saying that old adage about does life imitate art or vice versa, it goes both ways, but we deposit our life into our art, and then those things become permanent and we become settled on them. So whether you're looking at the chicken or the egg, either way, it's still poultry. You know, it's still, you still have to get back to just loving each other. And then you get married, it says for better or for worse.
Yeah.
You know?
And so, and also to add what you said, so the question was, what do young men think they are supposed to do anyway? And a lot of young men do think they're just supposed to have sex, not even good sex even, just a lot of random, just to have a moment, to feel something. Mm-hmm. But I also meet a lot of young men that do care about women in their life, but they don't seem to have a lot of support. They don't have the language for it. They don't feel comfortable. They feel like they chumps or they lames, for getting their heart broke. They don't even want to take the risk to love and be vulnerable enough to have that kind of connection when it happens. And so part of that is older men's responsibility to have those kind of conversations with them, to make it okay for them to love, to care, to feel something, to get swept off your feet. And the kind of stuff that, you talk about the music again, the music from your generation, they had, Teddy Pendergrass, and they had a whole different flavor of what a man is supposed to do, and they wasn't weak about it. They wasn't, it wasn't nothing lame about it. But it was authentic, and it was connection, and it was emotive, and it was all kind of stuff. And I don't see that I don't see young men feeling that they have permission to feel that way, even when they're not just interested in sex.
Well, I noticed that a lot of the songs now are not love songs, they're sex songs.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is a big difference.
Right.
But then you also got like some sarcasm songs from women, like, you got to have a J-O-B if you want to be with me. Well, what does that say? I mean, in a sense, women might feel like, well, we want to make sure men understand their economic responsibilities, but that's not a love song.
Right.
I mean, what do you think about the reaction? Like you mentioned, women now are saying, well, I don't need a man, and that's the whole thrust now, or a strong woman, she doesn't need a man. And so it's almost like conditioning women to feel like they need to see themselves as permanently single, or even predatory themselves to imitate what men have been doing.
Mm-hmm. They don't make a secret
What do you think about
it either.
that?
I think it's terrible because they're setting themselves up for heartbreak, for loneliness, for failure. There's so many people out there that want to live the single life and the Sex and the City life and all that, and it works for them for a while until they wake up one day and realize they don't have a good, strong relationship. My buddy told me about a man, an older man, who used to be a player. He was with all the women you can think of, and he got into his 60s, and he called up one of his buddies and said, man, I'm jealous of you. I said, jealous for what, man? We buddies. He said, because you have a family, your wife is at home and all that. He said, I still get women, but not like I used to. And so while you're at home with your family, relaxing and building a life, he said, I'm still opening my curtain, waiting on whoever to come over, and he's jealous. So.
But I think that's a good example of how I don't think it's just women wake up one day wanting to be independent and live in condos.
Right.
Part of that happens as a response to getting slammed over and over again by him, by the player guy. So they have that experience of trying to be in partnerships and try to be in relationships, but because the guy's not ready, because we still playing, because we still not responsible with our relationships, then the reaction to that, then, well, if I'm alone, then I must celebrate that aloneness. I must find some way to make some peace with that. And that's men's responsibility to change that.
Right, and then so that's a part two of what you said earlier as far as the economic situation and trying to find jobs and all that has been hard for men, whereas it seems that women are graduating college they're getting scholarships, they're getting jobs, they're getting promotions, and I know that there's a lot of behind-the-scenes reasons for some of those things. So while they're celebrating, also it's hard for some men to celebrate that with the women. You know, right now my wife makes more money than I do. I don't care. You know, it doesn't bother me. I'm happy for her. She's trying to, you know, whatever she needs to do in her career, I'm there for her the same way I would be there for any one of my buddies. You know, so in my relationship book, I'm talking about the courtesies that I give to my friends. I mean, I don't mean to ignore y'all, I just keep looking at the courtesies that I give to my friends. Like, I don't try to lie from my buddies, I don't try to steal from them, I don't try to get away with anything. So why would I give those courtesies to them and not to my wife? If my buddy is getting a promotion or trying to graduate, trying to do anything, I'm gonna either help him or stay out of the way. Why would I not do the same thing for my wife? Why am I gonna treat him better than my wife? So it's easy for me because I have that moral base, but it's not easy for all men. So a man may like a woman who's got a PhD or she's high up in the company, but like Dr. Obari is saying, it may not be easy for him to express that. So whereas he may not have a problem with it, it may just not be easy for him to express. He may even have a why me? How come I don't have those same kind of accomplishments going on? So communication and being able to celebrate each other is a key factor. You know, and for women also, because you're a CEO and the man that likes you is a janitor, it doesn't make him less of a man. It gives him, you know, a different type of job. But what does that have to do with the kind of man that he is?
Right.
You know?
Well, that's another thing. The values that we have been given as women, do they really make sense? And we're going to pause for a moment. So those who have some thoughts, we, of course, invite you to listen to our radio show every morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, The Female Solution. And we have been talking about how we can get this situation together between men and women, because the reason why we've got this crime in the streets is because we have several generations of broken families and families that were never formed, and children that are seeking protection and self-worth in all the wrong places. And our broken families make us prey to people who want to take over our communities, whether it's having people lose their homes because they don't have fathers that bought homes or provide an economic foundation. They don't have sons that are legitimately earning money, and so they've gotten to the drug trade. So all of this, it comes down to the foundation between men and women. So we invite you to listen in every morning, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. So we want to continue to express the desire for our men and women to get back to the institution of marriage, because that is the economic foundation.
Great day, great people. You're tuned in to Asada, founder of the Soulful Chicago Book Fair and your host for the show Gathering of the Griots. Not right now, but every Tuesday morning, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, right here at the Female Solution. Call in at 515-605-9325 and chime in to conversations with writers affiliated with the Soulful Chicago Book Fair who tell our stories from our point of view for our benefit. We look forward to connecting. Peace.
We have Eddie Rogers here with Relationship Starts with Relate, and Dr. Obari Cartman with Ladies Man. And of course, if you are a lady, you probably want to understand a little more about how the man in your life thinks and what you might be doing as a woman that could be driving him away. Well, let me ask you this question about that, because you know there are a lot of women that they are always bashing men, always saying, well, these men ain't nothing, these men don't do this, these men don't do that. But what is the one thing that you would say women do that you find aggravating and repulsive that would push you away from even wanting a relationship with a woman?
I don't really think there is anything.
Oh, he says all the right things.
I feel like the male bashing thing Like if it don't apply to me. If it don't apply to me, it don't bother me. You know, all
Okay.
men are dogs kind of stuff. That don't bother me at all. I understand where it comes from because I do think there's a lot of men that are doing dirt, and so I think women are hurt by it. I think that the thing that's really complicated, and I started with, there's a system that we talk about broken families, and that wasn't a haphazard thing. Like our families were broken. Like some people, our enemy broke our families, right? And so I understand the systematic attack, injustices, and racism, and all that stuff is embedded in the system. But also, like the woe is me kind of thing. I feel like men need to have more will too. So despite not having economics and the graduation, we still got to get back to real simple stuff, which is, you know, being honest with sisters in our life, and being kind and being tender and being open and vulnerable and spending time and like prioritizing them and that kind of stuff. It don't take a lot of money for that. You ain't gotta have no degree for that. Like it's just basic human simple stuff, and we can't blame music for it. Like and I think the music is the problem, right? I think the system's the problem, but we still as men, we the most powerful men on this planet, right? Can't nobody do nothing to us that we don't accept. All we gotta do is stand up. All we gotta do is decide to work together. All we gotta do is say, "Now I've had enough of that." Right? We could change this thing in 1 minute. This book fair was just an idea in somebody's head at some point. We could imagine a whole community of whatever we wanted to create. We got a lot of the young activists that they're protesting what they're against. We're against the police and we're against the Congress or whatever. Like, but what are we for? And if we for a family, we got to stand up and do that. We for having young men be honest and have good character. We got to do that. We got to show it. We got to teach it. And can't no white people do nothing against us if we decide to do that together. So I feel like I don't do a lot of like what women should do. I don't women got to do what they got to do. But we got to do what we got to do first. Priority. Men need to have conversations with men about what it means to be right, to do right, to have character, to have discipline. And when we do that, everything else will fall into place. And the women will stop complaining about us being dogs when we stop being dogs. They stop, and we stop, teaching our brothers and our cousins. We stop allowing this kind of stuff to happen. Then, we would distinguish ourselves. And then you won't hear it no more. But if we're not doing the work, then we're going to keep hearing the chatter about it.
All right. Fantastic. All right. Well, your last thoughts? Perhaps a word of advice or reflection for women?
Reflection for women. Just know what you're getting involved, who you're getting involved with. Real quick, if you're a CEO and your man is a janitor or the man that likes you is a janitor, so what? You're a CEO at work, not at home or after work. You're not at work when you're dealing with this man unless he's a janitor at your job. So if you have a great job and somebody is not on your level in that way, that stops when you clock out. Remember that. But know who you're getting involved with the same way that you take the time to know what you're getting. People I keep saying this, but people go to restaurants and they spend all this time knowing what they're getting involved with before they order. But they don't get that serious and have that much concentration on who they're getting involved with. Before you get a credit card, you want to know the interest rate, or go buy a car, you want to know the mileage, the car note, the insurance, can I really handle this, do I need this? People take that stuff because they don't want to end up in a worst case scenario. But they don't do that same amount of research or have that same amount of patience when it comes to who they're getting involved with. And a person can do you way more harm than a car note every month or ordering the wrong food. Those are temporary situations and things that can be fixed. But people can break your heart, make you sick, make you sad, make you suffer. And that's why the subtitle of my book is Ending Suffering in Relationships. 90% of the problems, and I'm making that up, in the world are preventable.
Sounds good.
No, I like it.
All right.
90% of the problems in the world are preventable, including problems in relationships, if you know what you're getting involved with. And if you're honest, that's the thing. If you're honest and let somebody else know what they're getting involved with, then that reduces the chances of suffering for both of you.
That makes sense. All right. Well, can we get a hand for our authors?
Thank you very much for having us.
And can you both give us where we can get your books, your website, online?
Yeah, I'm online, website, drobaricartman.com, drobaricartman.com.
All right.
If you go to Book Talk Tour, booktalktour.com, you'll see this book and two others that I wrote, including the Career Hero book that's coming out on Monday, July 18th.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And we appreciate all of you for joining us here at the Soulful Chicago Book Fair. I'm Naima Latif. author of The Female Solution, and you need to tune in and hear us every Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. Until next time, we'll see you then on the Media Connection.